Hi there folks, I've been looking at some mental health conditions recently, and I would like to show you how using the EDM Power Tower can actually show how bulimia works. So the way I'm going to illustrate this is, if you assume this stick here represents who you are, once we're aware of this, who we are, once we become conscious of who we are, this is our human magicness that everyone has. Then this is our talent, this is our preference, this is our learning style, this is our knowledge, and this is can we do it, which is also where the mind lives. So this is a physical sculpture of who we are. However, who we are just stays as a potential if it's not protected. So we can represent protecting who we are by creating good feels, and these yellow circles represent good feels. And we have animal good feels. Are we in pain? Yes, no, no. Do we feel safe to be who we are? Yes. Do we have love and care? Yes. If we have them, that protects, as you can see, the human part of us, our humanity, so we can go out there and show love and care, show who we are. That protects that one. If we know what our T's and P's are, if we know what our talent and preferences are, we then can go and do them, so generating a sense, a feel of identity, purpose, belonging and meaning, so on and so forth. Expression and learning style is being aware of our actual learning style, what we need, and our knowledge, our experience, and being able to express that. And last of all is, can we do it? Ability. If we can, we feel this good. More information about this is obviously can be found online, and there is a free online course that you're welcome to have a look at if you want to know the detail of this. However, now then, let me just swap these around. So as we've basically, so this is what we need to feel good. In an hour, who we are is protected. We're not emotional because we can be in the present, doing and being what we're supposed to be. Now then, if we are using food as what is food used for? Food is used to generate health. We use food, so we eat, so our body is healthy and our body can function well. Now, if we start to use food for a different purpose, several things happen. And I'm going to illustrate this by blanking out some of the power needs that start to disappear when we start to use food as a way for something else other than making us healthy. So what happens is initially if we have an eating disorder, our health starts to suffer. Our health starts to suffer, so we start to have a gap here, and this makes us a little bit wobbly. And if we become a little bit wobbly, we start to become quite emotional. Again, more information on the online courses. But it becomes much more complex. And if you're a mental health professional or a parent of a person who has an eating disorder, it seems bizarre because one thinks, well, just eat and then you'll feel better. Then that gap will be filled up. but it's changed for the person who is experiencing this. This has disappeared. We're not interested in that, because with food you can go for a while without actually experiencing any adverse side effects. It doesn't actually give you pain if you don't if you don't eat, it gives you pain, but if you can work out how to eat and you're not in pain, you can achieve that. Okay, so even though eating is supposed to make us healthy, we can get away with it for a while without an immediate consequence. So the brain's not really looking at that. But what happens is that food starts to become used in different power needs. So what happens is food takes over these elements of your power needs. Safety, expression, and in extreme cases, purpose. So let me put this together again. So you now have those blocked off. Okay, so our power tower becomes like this because what has happened is, as you can see, it's it's not there's lots of gaps in it now. The person is still getting from who they are good feels in these departments, possibly, but food is now giving them a feeling of safety and an expression, and I'll talk about this more now. Often with eating disorders, people start to use food as a method to control their panic. There's various reasons that this works, and for example, let's take, we can take anorexia. That makes you stop panicking because you then think you have control over something. So you feel safer because I can control if I eat or not, therefore I am controlling something, therefore I'm safe. With bulimia, not only does it make people feel safe, but it's also a form of expression. It's a form of expression because I'm eating and then it's coming out, and that's what I feel. That's what I feel. I'm expressing myself because that's what I feel. And in extreme cases, anorexia and bulimia can also give people a sense of purpose, because the more they do it, the more their mind takes over, and the more the mind starts to see that a purpose in life is to make sure that we follow our protocol that we have decided is appropriate for where we are at that moment, and food becomes the main focus in life. So three points here. Number one, we have gaps in our power needs. These represent feels. So These good feels, excuse me, these good feels are no longer here. So the mind will start to take over, people will become much more emotional, and their whole life will become wobbly because they have gaps. The reason they have gaps is because instead of understanding who they are and creating good feels from who they are using food to give them the feeling of expression, purpose, and safety. And sometimes it even goes into identity as well. Sometimes it even goes into identity. Where's identity? There we are. Sometimes it even takes that one away. And often the longer someone is in this dynamic, the more power needs get used and generated with the food ritual, basically. So food is being used to create this, and this is why people get so stuck in an eating disorder, because it's not just about health anymore. Health in a way is being forgotten about. It becomes about this, and this is really important. This is actually what we feel. So if you take away the food ritual that someone has developed, what you're actually doing is taking away their ability to express themselves, their purpose, and their feeling of safety. And that's why it's so hard to do, because this is what it's about. It's not about the food, it's about this. And the reason that health is not looked at is partly because the brain is now associating food with this and not this. It's just not associating it with that anymore. People might think, well, I can go to the gym to be healthy. The brain just doesn't recognise that food is a healthy thing anymore. It recognises that food gives the person this, and they need this because they have these gaps. Okay? Because they have these gaps, they need to do this, and they're using food to do it. And then the other reason is that this is all a matter of weight as well. Now, food used to be for health, which weighs quite a lot, so animal power need, but these now weigh more. And the longer it goes on for, as I said, the more circles are going to be used in the food ritual. So this gets heavier and heavier, so this becomes more important than that. So this becomes more important than that. And lastly, because the health thing has kind of gone out the window, it's not actually focused on. So this is a picture of a person with an eating disorder, particularly bulimia. How do we solve this? What we do is we get the person to understand this, to understand what's happening to them. Allow the person to realise that if they start to find expression through their knowledge, we can create it ourselves. We work with that person so the person can see they can get their purpose. What's this covering up? Part of the talent. If they start to focus on their talent, they will generate this much of a good feel themselves. If they start to find a way in which to express who they are safely, they can then fill in that one. So the only gap left is the health one, which we'll look at in a minute. So the first thing to do though is to sort these power needs out, because if you don't, you won't be able to detach what food has become, what rule, R-U-L-E, what rule food is fulfilling, and food has become the means in which expression, purpose and safety is found. So we need to put them back so the person feels whole again. And this also explains why when people have got eating disorders, they lose a lot of compassion. They don't really care about the people around them, how that affects them. And that's because they are literally fragmented. They are fragmented, especially down here. And because our little stick man isn't being protected, because there is no safety there and there is no health there, that blocks the person from being human, for having empathy. So that's why it's quite difficult to appeal to someone's sense, well, how does that make other people feel when you're doing this? They literally don't compute that, because their little man on their who you are stick self is blocked up. But once you've worked with the person to enable them to find expression, purpose and safety via their stick self in their actual situations, then you can start to look at the health aspects of it all, and then you can start to work with that person in, you know, practical ways to help them start to eat more healthily. But you'll find that the urge, the addiction, the compulsion to use food as a means of feeling better will gradually reduce once we get these power needs back and the person is feeling whole once more. Thank you very much.